الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات والأرض رب العالمين، وله الكبرياء في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. الحمد لله الذي من الصالحات. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، وبك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله وأمين على وحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد اتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything we have on min Allah. And all our needs are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, including your provision. As Ibrahim alayhi salam told his people, فَابْتَغُوا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الرِّزْقَ. Yes, you need to work hard, but at the end of the day, the ultimate source of anything is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you are healthy, if you have money, if you have a job, etc., all these are favors and bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should make you more thankful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that the more thankful you are, the more He will provide you. وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَئِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. My dear respected brother and sister in Islam, our deen promises a pleasant life. This religion promises pleasant life here, before even the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Nahl, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَىٰ وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ra'd, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ القُّلُوبُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ طُوبَى لَهُمْ وَحُسْنُ مَآبٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Nahl, to whoever, male or female, does good deeds and has faith, we shall give a good life. We shall give a good life, pleasant life, and reward them according to the best of their action. إنه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن الذي كانوا يعملون. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ra'd says, those who have faith and whose hearts find peace in the remembrance of Allah. That's what people are looking for all the time, that peace of mind and that tranquility. And Quran tells us where to find it. Those who have faith and whose hearts find peace in the remembrance of Allah, truly it is in the remembrance of Allah that hearts find peace. So, and of course, Quran, this is for the individual. And Quran, also our deen, promises harmonious life and pleasant and happy life for families. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Second, in the family, this deen promises that tranquility and that peace of mind and that happiness even and harmony for the family. Of course, this is if this will happen if the Islamic recipe or prescription is implemented. I mean, you don't go to the doctor and then prescribe something to you, and then you don't follow it and then come back and say nothing happened. You need to follow the prescription to see the result. There is an Islamic prescription and an Islamic recipe that we have been talking about. Even in families, you can say that even Muslim families, it's not always successful. Yes, there was divorce even among the companions. But Islamic character and the Islamic recipe promises either happy marriage or at least a decent divorce, not what you see nowadays. So when people reach a point that it's impossible to continue, They know if they have the Islamic character, they know how to separate in a decent way without any fighting and without any accusations and scandals. If people know how to communicate and handle differences, they will make the marriage work to begin with. If they stick to Islamic characters of adab al-ikhtilaf, how to manage differences and how to talk to one another. And we have the example of the Prophet ﷺ telling us how when you listen, you don't interrupt. And when you listen, listen to understand, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. He has an active listening. Did you mean this? Did I get it right? Before you respond. So try, listen, no interruption, and understand. If people know how to manage differences, as I said, and if spouses observe their limits and fulfill their duties, marriage will work Islamically if they follow the Islamic prescription and the Islamic recipe. And again, in case it doesn't work, it's still there is فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. It's an amazing, in 4 words, happy marriage or decent divorce. فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان. Now, for community, this is individual and family. For community and societies and nation, Islam has a recipe and prescription to make that community thrive. Is this theoretical? Am I claiming this? No, it happened in history. I was just saying just before the Jumu'ah that this deen came in the middle of nowhere, in the desert, in a group of people who were very marginal in this world, to the point that some people were not even aware of their existence. The Arabs at that time, some people, advanced nation, they were not even aware of their existence. So totally irrelevant and marginal. And then poor, and then fighting each other all the time for silly issues and for survival. And then thugs. People could not even travel in the desert because, and then this deen comes and produces Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar ibn Khattab and all the great leaders that we know, and produces that great success stories that made these people champions of great civilizations, that changed the world, not changing their environment, they changed the world in the span of 1 generation. Was this meant to be one-time event? No. It was a model that worked. And the message was very clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that if this religion produced those results in these conditions, until the day of judgment, nobody will have any excuse. Because the conditions could not be worse than that. Our conditions nowadays, Muslims everywhere in the world, they are in much better position than those conditions. Just name it. Anywhere in the world, they are still in better situation than in that conditions. So we have seen it happening in early days of Islam. And then there was no other explanation. Because if this religion was revealed in the Roman Empire or in the Persian Empire, you can say there is already civilization. But there was nothing. There was nothing before, and we have seen what happened after. Complete transformation of individuals, complete transformation of their environment, and as I said, they changed the whole world in the span of 1 generation. If you don't see those results, at the individual level or community or nations or society, and we are not seeing them today, then you have to accept the sad reality that you must question the validity of the version of Islam that we have inherited. That's my firm belief. If you don't see those results that this deen promises and delivered before, promises and delivered, you don't see them on the ground, then you have to question the validity of the version of Islam that we have inherited. You have to question your understanding of Islam, our understanding of Islam, our practice of Islam, our commitment, our level of commitment. And I can tell you that I'm very comfortable to say the version of Islam, the versions of Islam that we inherited are very defective. They are very defective because that's why they are not producing the promised results. Why? Because we inherited them over centuries of oppression and dictatorship and stagnation that twisted it. So this deen was reduced to a few tasks, to a few do's and don'ts, and that's why they're not, even though in recent decades it was embraced by a large number of people in the Muslim world, there was no change. We didn't see anything changing in reality, unfortunately. So how does Islam do that? Islam has, again, a recipe or prescription that we have been talking about it for a few weeks. And then, inshallah, we'll maybe conclude it today. First and foremost, what is in the first item in that Islamic recipe or Islamic prescription for happiness and success of individuals and the family and nations, etc.? First and foremost, this deen, as a deen of Tawheed, makes you worship one God and gives you an ultimate goal in this life. There is an ultimate goal that preoccupies you all the time, which is to make sure that Allah is pleased with you. That makes all the difference in the world. Worshipping one God and having one ultimate purpose. That, as we said last time, will streamline put your acts together and will streamline your efforts, converge them, rather than being divergent or distracted. ضرب الله مثلا رجلا سلما رجلا فيه شركاء متشاكسون ورجلا سلما لرجل هل يستويان مثلا? That's what we recited last time from Surah Al-Mu'minun, the comparison between one who has one master and the one who has many masters conflicting with one another and is trying to please. That's, by the way, the case of many Muslims. It's not they are having that kind of shirk, but they have conflicting priorities and conflicting goals. They don't know what they want in this life. They don't have a clear purpose. They don't have a clear guiding priority that will help them make the right decision and prioritize things in their life. Once with this, Islam makes everything fall in place. Puts your act together, streamlines your life. People nowadays are suffering and struggling, a lot of them, because they don't know what they want in this life. They don't have a clear purpose. They don't have a clear purpose. They have conflicting priorities. And some of them, they're worried about people's impression. And again, they were trying to achieve different or conflicting goals. Now, this applies to the individual, applies also to the relationships. Because pursuing Ridwanullah, making Ridwanullah as your guiding priority, and pledging and committing to do whatever it takes, and to be wherever you need to be in pursuit of Ridwanullah, that will make all the difference for you as an individual. Why this is a recipe for success? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you more than a mother loves her child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the best for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see you happy and successful in this life, even before the hereafter. And Allah knows you more than you know yourself. So pursuing Ridwanullah is the surest path for happiness and success in this life. As you're pursuing Ridwanullah, you find yourself pursuing your own happiness and success in this life, even before the hereafter. So this deen makes life a mission, turns life into a mission. And that makes all the difference in the world. The difference between someone who's living, who's driven, mission-driven, has a mission in life, has a purpose, and someone who's just living. That's the transformation that happens in the companions. Before they knew even how to pray or about Ramadan, about anything. They used to be people who are living for themselves, empty life, and then this deen turned them into mission-driven. It gave their life a mission and sense of purpose. Why this is important? Because that, in addition to converging all your efforts and acts, also gives you a very clear vision. Once you have an ultimate purpose in life and you embrace life as a mission, it gives you a very clear vision and ability to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "In tattaqullaha yaj'al lakum furqana." Allah will give you that ability, that wisdom to make the right decision and to make the right choice. Why? Because you have a reference, you have a scale. Anything that helps you with your mission, you go for it. Anything that's going to distract you, it's out. Anything that brings you closer to Allah and Ridwanullah, you go for it. Anything that is going to distract you from that, you rule it out. Not only Islam gives you a very big mission, but also it comes with a sense of urgency, because we have only limited time to do it. And the clock is ticking, and you never know when the time is up. So not only you have a big mission, but also you have that sense of urgency. You have that sense of urgency. Why this is important? Why this is important to embrace very demanding mission with a sense of urgency, and how is related to the recipe or prescription for happiness and success? Basically, it keeps you busy. It keeps you busy and preoccupied. There is something that is preoccupying you all the time. And a lot of people fail in this life. Fail or they are unhappy. One, because of the time they waste. They waste time. Even though if you understand your deen properly, you know there is no time to waste in this life. As I said, you have a very demanding mission and very limited time. You hear in Muslim countries people sitting down say, we're killing the time. So they spend hours in a coffee shop and hours just vain talk, talking and complaining and describing what's going on. And of course, in addition to watching and surfing the social media, etc., and it's all mostly waste of time. People fail or they are struggling because of the time they waste, because that prevents them from succeeding, from growing, from taking advantage of the opportunities. And they are also, people are struggling, especially in a relationship, because of the void. Faragh. I mean, if you are busy with something big, you have no time for these silly fights that people are engaged all the time, spouses and parents and children, etc. A lot of waste of time and a lot of fighting on silly issues. When you have that purpose and that mission in life, you have no time for this and no stomach for any argumentation or any fightings. Without a mission and purpose in life, and this is maybe harsh, but that's also, there is a verse in Quran, I'm going to read in a minute. Without a mission or purpose, the human life becomes no different from the animal life. Quran says this, رَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ أَفَأَنْتَ تَكُونُ عَلَيْهِ وَكِيلًا أَمْ تَحْسَبُ أَنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ يَسْمَعُونَ أَوْ يَعْقِلُونَ إِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. Because basically, without a mission, it's the same tasks. I mean, the tasks that we're performing, that's the same tasks that are performed by animals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, again, those who follow their desires, those who have no purpose in life, those who do what is convenient, not what they need to do or they must do. Quran tells us that they are like cattle, or even worse, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them that brain, gave them that noble and honor to do His work, and they neglected that. That's why it says, إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. We talked about this mission number of times. You can summarize it in 3 items that will take all your time. One is to work on yourself to be the best version of yourself through the tazkiyah process, to be all you can be. You want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you, every day you should be a better person than the day before. Every day you learn something new and you implement it, that will make you a better person. You learn a skill, you learn a character, you get rid of bad habit, you acquire a good habit, You get new knowledge that you implemented, you incorporate it to make you a better person. You learn about your deen, learn about life, learn about how to be the better spouse, how to be better parents, learn about your profession, learn about this world, learn about this universe. Just learn. There is so much to do, so much to learn on this track. Number two is help people around you. As you're working on yourself to be a better person or to be the best version of yourself, uplift people around you. It's also called tazkiyah process. And that's the job of the Prophet. I mean, how more noble can that be? يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم. يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. You want to be like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Go and read this verse that says the job description of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was his role model, his mercy, and he was mentoring and uplifting people, and he was teaching. He was a teacher. يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة. Teach them what? Teach them the book that is revealed to him, but also teach them wisdom. Teach them whatever is beneficial for them in this life and in hereafter. Number three, in this demanding mission, is to maximize your contribution to the greater good. The beautiful word of Islam that encapsulates the mission of Islam. إن أريد إلا الإصلاح. Make this world a better place, more just, more prosperous, more secure, more peace, etc. Wherever you settle, that's your job. And it's not only contributing, maximize your contribution. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, does not ask you to do more than what you can, but asks you to do everything you can. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, that's the meaning of it. Nothing beyond your limit. But you need to try to push and reach your limit. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما أتاها. Allah does not ask you to do more than what you can. That's implicitly says that Allah is expecting you to do everything you can. Nothing more, but everything you can, and therefore you need to keep pushing your limits. Maximize your contribution to the greater good and your positive impact on this world, and also your legacy. Because Quran says, نكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم. It's an amazing part of a verse in Surah Yasin. What is being recorded, what you send yourself for yourself. You send forth for yourself. وَلْتَنْظُرْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. Whatever you save and invest with Allah, and also what you left behind. نكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. On all these fronts, there is so much to learn and there is so much to do, to the point that you have no minute to waste in this life. Even the time of leisure and the time you take rest has to be planned. There is no such thing that I have nothing to do or doing nothing. And again, that can make big difference when you have for individual, but also can make a big difference for the family. Imagine the spouses, in addition to the love and affection and respect between them, they have also common cause. Imagine what impact this will have on the relationship. They're working for the same purpose. They are helping one another fulfilling that mission. Why? Because they have a common mission or common cause. That's a recipe for greater chance for a family to be successful. Not people who have empty life and therefore they have all the time to struggle for power and control and argumentation that does not end. When people have that mission, keep them busy and preoccupied, and it is common cause which will act like a glue and strengthen and cement that relationship. And that's how spouses will help one another be the best version of themselves. Each spouse will get the best out of the other one. That's not what we are seeing nowadays, unfortunately. In general, it's the other way around. Everybody is getting the worst out of the their partners or their spouses, and sometimes even their children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help one another and cooperate to do what is right and to do what is good. Now, for a community, this recipe, why this is important, why a community that has a mission is very different than a community that doesn't have a mission, and why a community that embraces a mission has a greater chance of succeeding and thriving, simply because this is what a mission does. Once a group of people embrace a mission, number one, it mobilizes them. That's what Rasul ﷺ did. Number two, unifies them. There is nothing that will mobilize and unify people consistently, not temporary. And we can get motivated by crisis. We can be mobilized and unified for a short time, but that's by crisis. But if we're driven by a mission, that will ensure continuous unity and continuous mobilization. And that's what makes a community or a society or nation thrive. When they have a project or a vision or a dream, and they work to make it, to turn it into reality. Galvanizes people and make them forget about the silly issues and the differences and work toward that unifying and common cause. And then a community that has a mission is forced to have a true leadership. A community that doesn't have a mission does not need a leadership. If we gather together in a mosque, we just need people to manage the facilities and provide the basic services. We don't need true leadership. And that's why we don't have it. And that's why we don't see it. Why? Because it's not needed. Now, why we are not as close to one another as the companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? Because what glued the companions was that common mission. People were united by that common cause and unified leadership. Unity of purpose and unity of leadership. Such a community becomes unstoppable when they have unity of purpose and they have unity of leadership. And then people, when they have a common cause, also they get closer to one another, then they become, you will see true brotherhood that you don't see it nowadays. When people pray in the same mosque for years next to one another, they don't know even each other's name. Again, no true leadership because it's not needed, no true brotherhood because it's not needed, no mobilization because it's not needed, and no unity. And these are the elements in the prophetic model. If you're looking for the secret recipe for that great success stories, these are the elements with which the Prophet ﷺ built his community. They were joined by a mission, unity of purpose, unity of leadership, true brotherhood, and that's what made them so solid as a community and unstoppable. So this deen promises and ensures happy and successful life because it helps you effectively, in addition to all of this, in addition to give you a mission and purpose, but also this deen helps you effectively deal with the challenges of life and make the right decisions. Those who embrace Islam as a mission, they are much more capable of dealing with the tests of this life, the challenges. They can even turn them into opportunities. And they are much more capable of making the right decisions. And they can make it quickly, swiftly, as we mentioned last time. Why? Because you have a scale and you have a reference. And there is a mechanism of making an effective decision from Islamic perspective. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ. There is a consultation, there is istikhara, gather the information, weigh things, but then when you make a decision, you're going to have no hesitation. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ. It's extremely important nowadays. People are always hesitant. They don't know why. There is no reference. There is no scale. There is no guiding priority that can help them making the right choices and make those swift decisions. So this life from Islamic perspective is a mission, but also This life is a test ground. You wake up in the morning ready to be tested. We know that as long we're living, we're going to be tested. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين. لَتُبْلَوُنَّ. Quran is full or clear. As long you're living, you're going to be tested, so you're going to be good. This deen makes you prepared, so no element of surprise, and gives you the package on how to deal with the tests of life, how you meet bounties and favors and ease with shukr and gratitude and doing more fi sabilillah, and how you meet difficulties with patience and perseverance. And so dealing with the challenges of life, and we talked about this, we talked about the fact that you always have to accept the responsibility for what happened to you. That's what Islam teaches us. قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ. So no denial, no excuses, no justification, no blaming, none of this. All these are futile approaches that we have been adopting for far too long. Accept the responsibility for what happened to you, and accept the responsibility for changing your reality. And then learn your lessons. That's all. Anything that happened a minute ago became a history. And history is only good for lessons. So this deen gives you that mission, equip you to deal with the tests of life, no confusion, no depression, no always, again, ready to be tested and always able to handle those tests and succeed past those tests of life, but also making the right decision. Because if you think about it, that's what you're doing. From the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we are taking tests and we're making decisions. So you wake up ready to fulfill that mission and ready for the tests of that day that are going to be coming, and also ready to make the right choices. Because everything we face in this life is a choice. But some choices, we do them repeatedly, they become habits, and we think there is no other way of doing things. And that's not true. You reap what you sow. You get the results of of your choices and decisions. Today, of decision and choices you made in the past. Making decision, being decisive, and this is the beauty of this deen. It establishes balance between things that appear to be conflicting. There is a very fine line between being persistent and being reckless. Being decisive and being reckless. Being decisive means after you gather the information and you weigh things, you took a decision and you go for it. Being reckless, meaning take decision without doing your homework. There is a fine line between being persistent and being stubborn. If you take a decision and you take a course, as long it's the right thing to do, you need to be persistent. The moment you find out that you are on the wrong track, you shouldn't hesitate for a minute to stop, cut your losses, and consider other alternatives, and don't let the ego stand in the way. Yes, you made the choice, you thought it is the right thing, but it turns out that's not the case, or new information emerged. Take a step back. There is something called cut your losses. There is no point. I know I have seen many people destroy their lives and their families because they stick to something that is clearly wrong. Why? Because the ego does not allow us to say, I was wrong. And keep all your options open, and while being decisive and persistent, but the moment you see yourself that's not worth it, or it is not right, then you have to take a step back and consider other alternatives. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's being smart. This is the recipe and the prescription for happiness and success in this life and hereafter, for individuals, for families, and for community. We don't see those results nowadays, then we have the only thing that we should do, and we should not hesitate to do, is to question the validity of the versions of Islam that we have inherited. وَتُوبُ إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب اليه، نعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا، من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. But dear respected brother and sister in Islam, just to conclude, it's never too late to change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us great ability to adapt and to transform and to change. Just if there is the will and if you are ready to make the necessary adjustment, then it is doable. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with a very high level of adaptability and ability to change and to transform. And it's الرجوع إلى الحق فضيلة. Even to accept the fact that we need to rediscover our religion or the true religion. Yes, it's sad. Yes, it's harsh. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. If that's what needs to be done, then we should not hesitate to do it. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا توفنا وانت راض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم.